first of all, I would like to tell you about what all modules we are going to cover in this certification course. In the first module, we are going to study about Python programming, about the configuration of development environment, how to configure your IDE, your environment. We will study about the variables, strings, functions, control flows, and loops, about Python tuple, list, dictionaries, standard libraries. And don't worry, we will start it from scratch. If you don't know the coding, or if you haven't touched any coding part, then also you will be able to learn, because everything we will start from scratch. And after learning about Python, we will move to the data science fundamentals, that what is actually data science. We will do some real world cases of data science. We will see the data science project life cycle also. After the introduction of data science, we will jump into the NumPy, and we will see the basics of NumPy arrays. Why the NumPy? NumPy is the powerful library in Python, and what it does is it does all the mathematical computations. So to do the mathematical computation, we will use this library. There are many functions. For now, you must be doing all the analysis by writing some formulas, by writing some of the other things. But in NumPy, you just need to know the functions to compute that mathematical operation, and that function will solve your problem. So there are many functions inside NumPy. Um, we will also study about NumPy array manipulation, how to manipulate NumPy array, and how to broadcast the NumPy array. So this is all about module 1.
Okay.
Next, in module 2, we will study about pandas. Now, this pandas is very important while working with data, and we will work on the data. We will explore data analysis. First of all, that data should be means we will have to handle all the missing values. We will have to manipulate that data. We cannot just directly use that particular data, the same data what we are getting. So we have to do some data manipulation, and that data manipulation will be done by pandas. We'll have to study the series data frames in pandas. Then we will study that how to clean the data using pandas, how to manipulate the data using pandas, how to treat the missing values, how to treat the null values in a data set. And we will also do some hands-on exercises in NumPy and pandas. After this, we will do some exploratory data analysis. We will study about EDA steps. We will study about some plots with relationship to explore the relationship between two variables. We will also see how to explore the single variable, how to explore correlations using histograms, box plot, heat maps, pair plots. We will see all those things in module 2. After the data analysis, we will have to put our results into some picturized form, right? And that we will do by data visualization in Python. And for data visualization, there are many powerful libraries. We are going to use the most popular and powerful library, that is Matplotlib and Seaborn. So using Matplotlib and Seaborn, we will see how to do the statistical data visualization, how to plot the basic charts, and we will also do some coding session using Matplotlib and Seaborn. That is all about module 2. By the end of the module 2, you will be a master in Python, because we will do many varieties of Python programming, how to solve a particular problem. From module 3, we will start the basics of machine learning, what machine learning is, what are the types of machine learning. Today in this session, I will tell you some introduction part of machine learning. Then we will study about the logistic regression, linear regression, about the decision trees, random forests, dimensionality reduction using PCA, model evaluation techniques. Now, in model evaluation techniques also, there are many matrices, I will say, many metrics to actually evaluate your model. For example, sensitivity, specificity, precision, recall, F score, your accuracy, You will also calculate, you will also see the AUC ROC curve to decide the best model. So all these things we will do. Now, module 5 is all about the different algorithms of machine learning like KNN, K means, Naive Bayes, classifier, support vector machines. These are the contents of module 5. Now, in module 6, you will study about time series forecasting, recommendation system. Some introduction about recommendation system I will discuss today in today's session, and about a priori algorithm. And module 7 is all about LDA, ensemble learning, anomaly detection. So all these things are the course of AI and machine learning. After that, after this module 7, we will learn how to deploy this AI and machine learning in Azure. Okay, that's what you have to give the examination of that certification, Microsoft certification. And in between also, in this is the course, this is the basic course of Python, NumPy. In that certification course also, you will get the questions of NumPy, you will get the question of pandas. So you have to basically concentrate on these contents, on this whatever I have discussed so far in module 1 to module 7. You have to concentrate on the basics of it, right? So now I will move on to what is artificial intelligence and start my today's session. Artificial intelligence is the ability of a computer to exhibit intelligence, right? Or we want our machines to work like human, to act like human. This intelligence can be either mimic human intelligence or observe the real world problems and intelligently find solutions for it. So, father of artificial intelligence was John McCarthy, because he has coined this term artificial intelligence in 1950s. And according to John McCarthy, AI is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. John McCarthy also created Lisp language, and this is a standard programming language used in robotics and other scientific applications. And it is also used in internet-based services. So he was a professor at Stanford University, and at Stanford University, McCarthy founded AI Laboratory, where he worked on early versions of self-driving car. Now you can imagine that in 1950s he has started working on self-driving car, and now most of the automobile industries are working in the same, are doing research, and they are manufacturing different self-driving cars. So another major McCarthy innovation was an early system of computer time sharing and networking, which allowed many people to share data by linking to a central computer. So, what is artificial intelligence? According to a study by McKinsey, and this is a study, this is a recent study in 2020. According to this study by McKinsey Global Institute, AI is estimated to create an additional 13 trillion US dollars of value annually by the year 2030. Even though AI is already creating tremendous amount of value into software industry, but a lot of value will be created in future lies outside the software industry. In 2020, you must have seen that the maximum amount of value is being created by healthcare industry, right? AI has created a lot of value in this 2020 just because of this COVID. Maximum research is being going on, right? So there are different sectors other than software industry also: retail, travel, transport, logistics, automotive, basic material, electronic, semiconductors, healthcare system and services, of course, telecom, oil and gas, agriculture. All these industries, AI is creating value. So AI comes with two ideas and concepts. First is artificial narrow intelligence, and second is artificial general intelligence. So, what is artificial narrow intelligence? You must have seen some gadgets, you must have seen some products of AI where AI is being used. For example, smart speaker, self-driving car, web search. So, all these uses AI, uses some concepts of AI. But what is artificial general intelligence? This is the goal, to build AI that is do anything that a human can do, and can be super intelligent and do even more things than a human can. So this is the main goal of AI, that and maximum research is being going in artificial general intelligence, that how can we make machines do like, act like humans and think like human. How to put that decision making power in machines. So the three things you can do after learning and understanding this course is it will let you automate all the manual and traditional programming. It will give you a tool to reduce the time you spend in programming. So suppose I want to make something like spelling corrector or English spelling correct errors. Please concentrate in this example because this example I will take in the next point also. Suppose I want to write a program to correct the spelling errors, and it is in English language. And it will take a week or 2 weeks. If I am not that good in coding, then I can take a month also to create this kind of software to correct the spelling errors. So this is one option to solve this problem, that I manually write this program in any language. Another option is to solve this program through machine learning by using some machine learning tool and feed some examples. Whenever I am saying feed some examples, examples means the data. We just need to feed data into the machine, and I will get the output in smaller fraction of time. So all I need in machine learning is the examples, that is the data to feed it. And it will learn on its own, and the method will give you quick results too. The second point is it allows you to customize your product. So let's take the previous example, the program I created for English spelling errors manually without using ML, without using machine learning, and it was successful too. So after a month, I have given my project to my project manager, and he is very happy with my project. And now he is telling me you have to use the same code, or you can generate this spelling corrector for 100 most popular language like Italian, Spanish, German, French. So you have to do that. Now imagine I have to, what is my task? I have to create this program for all these languages now, right? So what I have to do, I would have to start programming from scratch for each and every language again, and it would take years of efforts to do that. But if I use machine learning to solve this problem, then I would have to just create one model, one good program, and then I can feed different examples, that is, different data to that model. French data, it will work for French. Suppose I am putting Italian data, it will work for Italian. Suppose I am putting some different language to that model, it will work for that language, right? Or I can feed German data into that model. That model or algorithm can work on 100 different languages. So that is the beauty of machine learning. So machine learning lets you solve problems as quickly as compared to the traditional method. Any questions?
Yeah, one small question. See, in this foreign language data, we have to give the inputs, or machine will take by default in
No,
the
no,
tool.
we have to provide the data.
Okay,
We
okay,
have to provide the data, and that data for its training, and whatever data we are providing for training, that data is called as training data.
super.
And
So I,
some of the data we have to put that will be unseen for that machine, and that data is called as testing data. With that data, with the unseen data, we will test our model.
okay,
Okay.
Ankita, I have a background of 2 years in Microsoft OS tester, and then
Okay.
foreign languages. I think for me it is suitable, right? I can.
Yes, yes, yes. You can, yes, you can relate. Some of the things you can relate.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yes. So you must have heard some buzzwords related to AI, that is big data analytics, machine learning, deep learning. So do you have, can you define what big data is? Can you say something about big data or big data analytics?
See, as per my understanding, so far Microsoft is using their own operational system, and it got delivered from I think from the Linux as well. So this big data is one of the product of Linux operating system, and with this technology, we will store the data in cloud. So
Yes,
so it's
right,
like a different OS, and the big
right.
data also is kind of the same, like same family from the big data. I think we cannot call it as a Hadoop, right? Hadoop technology. That
Right, 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 right. So Hadoop is a framework to handle this huge amount of data.
Okay.
So data is growing exponentially, and this huge amount of data is called as big data. And what is big data analytics? Big data analytics is a process of collecting and analyzing this large amount of data to discover some patterns,
Okay.
and it come up with the useful insights. It come up with the useful knowledge. That
Okay.
is big data analytics, right?
Okay.
And data is coming from various sources and in different format, which is leading to the explosion of data.
Okay.
Everyone is generating data. You yourself are generating. You are posting something on your social media. You are sending messages. You are sending videos, images in your WhatsApp. So in microseconds, how much data you yourself are generating? Now think and imagine about all the people around this world, how much data is getting generated and accumulated, right? So that needs to be analyzed and that needs to be handled. Okay. So now I would like to talk about the 5 V's of big data analytics. And now this is very important because everything is based on these 5 V's. So first is volume. Volume means huge amount of data. That,
One second, Agita, sorry to interrupt
yes,
you. So
yes,
the
yes.
so are you going to teach on big data as well? Big data and big data analysis.
Some concepts of big data as well, because everything is related. When we will take some data, no, so we, it can be of MBs of data, it can be of GBs of data, so obviously you will have to work on big data as well. So
Okay.
how
Okay.
to work on those big data concepts you will learn,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right?
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So first is volume. Volume means this huge amount of data. Second is value. Value means to come up with the useful insights. Variety means different formats of data. Variety, now there are three different formats of data. First is structured data, second is unstructured data, and third is semi-structured data. Structured data is the data which is in tabular format, or it refers to any data that resides in a fixed field within a file. You must have worked in Excel file. So all the data resides in a cell. All the data resides in rows and columns. So it is in a fixed field. So that data is called as structured data. Praveen, you must have worked in relational databases or spreadsheets. So that data is called as structured data.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now, what is unstructured data? Unstructured data is the information that either does not have a predefined data model or is not organized in a predefined manner. For example, audio, images, videos, you cannot recite, you cannot keep these kind of data in a fixed field, in a tabular form, in a Excel file. You cannot do that, right? So
Correct.
for these things, you need different software, different tools, different frameworks to handle these kind of data. So
Mm-hmm.
structured data was handled. If I talk about your backend, if I talk about the databases, so structured data was handled by SQL. But now unstructured data, for unstructured data, there are many things in Hadoop concept. There is MongoDB to handle that unstructured data. There is Hive, HBase. So all these things are used to handle the unstructured data. And in this generation, you know how much unstructured data is getting generated, how much audio, video, images are getting generated and accumulated in microseconds, right?
Correct.
Now
Correct.
I will talk about the third type of data, that is semi-structured data. It is basically a mix of structured and unstructured. It has some structure, but it does not reside in a relational database or any table. Have you seen the data in HTML and XML? In HTML, we used to write some tags. It has some structure, but the data is not in tabular format. It is not in the rows and columns. So
Oh.
that data is called as semi-structured. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, next characteristic is velocity. Velocity means the rate at which the data is getting generated regularly and it is being accumulated. Last characteristic is veracity. Veracity means there are some inconsistencies and uncertainties in data, and that needs to be analyzed. Right. So these 5 V's big data is composed of. And so what AI is doing, AI is helping the companies to increase the revenues, decrease the cost, and become more competitive within the industry. Now, one of the major technologies driving the recent rise of AI is machine learning. So, machine learning is changing the way you think about a problem and solve that problem. Please mute your mic, Praveen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is machine learning? Machine learning is the application of artificial intelligence that provides the computer systems the ability to automatically learn and improve from past experiences. And how it is automatically learning? We are providing the data to it for its training. Right, we are providing data. From that data it is learning and it is improving from its past experiences. So that's why I am saying that it is one of the major technology that is driving the recent rise of AI. And with this, AI is helping the companies to increase the revenues and decrease the cost and become more competitive within the industry. And of course, with the machine learning is changing the way you are thinking about a problem and you are solving that problem. There are some amazing products I will show you there of machine learning. And one more thing, you must have seen this in your Gmail that some of the mails goes into your inbox and some of the mails goes into your spam. So which mails are going into your spam? If you have suppose got this you have won this much, your account is credited this much, so all these unwanted mails goes into your spam. So your spam, your machine is trained like that. These kind of keywords should go into your spam. And by mistake, if they are coming into your inbox also, you are manually sending. Sometimes you manually send these kind of emails into your spam. So it learns from that these kind of words should go into your spam. So like that, we will do one case study of classification of ham and spam. So how to do it using Neve Bayes algorithm, we'll do it. Another amazing product of machine learning is this. This is the machine learning experiment seeks to teach the bots how to interact with their environment, and they are learning the hand-eye coordination. These robots are learning the hand-eye coordination. Another example is Google self-driving car. So if I talk about this car, artificial intelligence is contributing to generate the most next generation high-tech products. The example you can see, this is the Google self-driving car. How this car works. Now this car makes millions of calculations on every trip, and on each trip data is being generated. This data is analyzed, which helps the car to decide when and where to turn, when and where to speed up, and when and where to slow down. You must have heard about Toyota Prius and how these cars are working. These cars are having GPS, sensors, cameras, powerful computers, which is fitted into that car to take those decisions, which are taken by a human being. Those decisions are being taken by a human being when human being is driving that car, right? This is one of the self-driving car that is in Singapore. So one more case study we are going to do using Python is classification of fruits, in which we will provide some images of apples to the machine. We will provide some images of grapes, some images of orange, some images of lemons. And whenever any unseen data, like a new image of apple, I'll show to that model, it should give me the output as this image is of apple. So that's what that model should give. If it is not giving me the correct accuracy that and correct output, then again I have to change some parameters. So all those things we will study later, how it happens and how we have to work. So this is one more amazing product of machine learning. It is also used in defense. It is enable the ground robots to learn from their surrounding, and they are amazingly working without any human intervention. Analytics is also driving military intelligence. They predict the routes that are probably going to have the roadside bombs planted on them. And they basically do the analysis on the soft target. Soft target mean the marketplaces or the other places where somebody may decide to pull an event that would do harm to people, right? Now I will talk something about recommendation system or recommender system. Do you know anything about recommender system? Have you encountered recommender system anywhere, Praveen?
No, Ankita.
Okay. So you must have used YouTube. You must have used Amazon Prime or Netflix. These things you must have used, or Facebook. In Facebook, Facebook recommends friends based on the friends of friends. In YouTube, whatever video you watch, suppose you have watched one video of Python, suppose you want to learn about Python list, what is a Python and what is Python list, so it will recommend you different similar videos of Python, that with list you can also see the Python string, Python tuple, Python dictionary. So these kind of similar videos you will get in recommendation. Am I correct? These things you must have encountered, you must have seen, right? So
Correct.
if you have seen some movies, like if you have seen some movies of some actor, suppose you have seen some movie of Shah Rukh Khan, and the next day you will get the recommendation of the same actor, that users have also seen these kind of movies, so you will get the movie recommendation, right? So that is called as movie recommendation system. So recommender systems are nothing but the software tools that understand the interest of the users, and according to their interest they make some recommendations. So that is a recommender system. So how it works is, we will talk about two types of recommenders. First is user based recommenders, and second is item based recommenders. I'll first give you the example of user based recommenders. For example, if I watch any movie of Deepika Padukone, for example, Padmavat I have watched, right? And for example, you are the other user, you are also using Netflix, so you have also watched Padmavat. Now there is a similarity between you and me, that we both have watched Padmavat. Later, if I watch Bajirao Mastani, then it will be recommended to you also, because we both had a similarity that we watched Padmavat. So that is a user-based recommender. It understands the interest of the user, and according to the interest of users, it recommends accordingly. So this is user based recommender, and the technical term for user based recommender is collaborative filtering. And how it predicts is, it predicts what users will like based on the similarity of other user. Is this clear? Now, Facebook also works in user based recommenders only. And suppose in this example, in this image, you can see that there are two users, Julie and Sophie, and they both are doing online shopping, suppose from Mintra. So, Julie, what she has bought a red dress, and Sophie has also bought a red dress. So there is a similarity. Both these users have bought a red dress. Now, from the same website, if Julie has bought the blue dress also, now that blue dress will be recommended to Sophie. Why it is recommended? Because they had a similarity. They had both bought this red dress. That's why the similarity of whatever Julie will buy, those will be recommended to Sophie also. Is this example clear, and is this concept clear about user based recommender, that it only understands the similarity to the other users and it predicts accordingly? Is this clear?
Yes, Ankit.
Okay. Now I will talk about this item based recommenders, and I will give you one example about this item based recommenders. First of all, I would like to tell you the technical term used for item based recommenders. Technical term is content based filtering, and earlier we have seen it predicts based on the similarity of the users, right? But here it predicts the similarity between the description of the item, between the similarity of the items. Like, you must have encountered this thing whenever you do some online shopping, say from Amazon, you are doing some online shopping, you want to buy, suppose hard disk you want to buy. So whenever you check out, it shows you these particular items are bought together. Hard disk, it shows you hard disk cover also, so similar items of with that hard disk it shows you, and it tells you that these particular items are bought together, frequently bought together. You must have encountered this whenever you buy something in Amazon, or
Yes, yes,
yes,
yes.
in Flipkart also. So Amazon uses this filtering for frequently bought together features. Whenever we buy hard disk, it shows hard disk cover. Whenever we buy mobiles, it shows mobile cover. So these two, and says that these two products are bought together. So this is content based filtering. Based on the description of the item, it recommends other products. Right? This is content based filtering or item based recommendations. Right? Now I'll talk something about the machine learning. Machine learning is the field in data science where machines can learn themselves without being explicitly programmed by humans. So by analyzing the past data called training data, the machine learning model forms the patterns and uses these patterns to learn and make some future predictions. So what is learning? Learning is a process by which system improves the performance from experiences. And how does it learn? It learns from the training data we provide. And how we test it? We test it by the unseen data which the machine has not seen earlier. We test it by that. So according to Herbert Simon, what definition he has given about machine learning is concerned with the computer programs that automatically improve their performance through experience. That is machine learning. So this is the life cycle of machine learning process. It is a 5 step process, and you can say this is the life cycle of data science also. Whenever we are going to work in data, we are going to follow these 5 steps. So the first step is gathering data from different sources. And now it is a very tough task because we cannot just take data from any authorized source. That has to be some authorized source wherever from where we are gathering the data.
Ankita, I have
So
a
yes,
so
any question?
we'll get this video recording right later.
Yes, I'll share this video recording with you.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So you have to get data from authorized sources. So getting data is a huge task. When you get some project in a company, generally client gives you data in a company, right? But for practice, lots and lots of open source data has been provided on the internet. There is machine learning repository, there is Kaggle, there is GitHub. There are many open source data is provided for practice, right? Second step is data cleaning. You cannot just use the same data after gathering data or whatever data client is giving. You cannot just use the same data and put it into the model. You have to prepare that data. You have to do some pre processing. You have to do feature engineering, feature extraction. And feature extraction is basically done to identify the important features, important columns out of your the whole data. And we also detect and identify the outliers. Outliers means the unwanted data, the data which is not required for your model to process. It will, if outliers goes into your model, then it will not give the correct answers or correct output. It is not mandatory to remove them, because sometimes removing the outliers and removing the missing values may result into data loss. That also we don't want. So we need to apply some techniques that we will study in machine learning module and normalize them, or how to handle them, how to treat them. We will study all that thing. Another important thing in cleaning data is how to treat the missing values or null values. Should we remove them, or should we use mean of values of features? What to do with those missing values we will study. And one more important thing in cleaning data is, suppose you have two columns that are similar, we can combine them. For example, in a data set you have date of birth also as well as age also, right? So both these columns are representing the same knowledge. So you can combine these two columns into one column, and also we can find the correlation between these two columns. And also removing, one more important thing in pre-processing and cleaning the data is to remove the stop words, remove punctuation. Stop words means, in a document or a data set, the words that are occurring a lot, means a, the, of, to. These are the stop words. They occur a lot in a data set, and why we remove this? Because they are not necessary for our program, or these words might not help to understand the model. They will in fact confuse our model to understand any pattern. So cleaning the data is very important step for our model's accuracy. Third step is model building. This is a very important step. Whatever data we have cleaned so far, we put that data into this model. And model building is nothing but choosing the right algorithm according to our data. So the maximum time is in this whole machine learning process goes in data cleaning. 70% of the data goes in data cleaning, and then model building is nothing. We have to choose just the right algorithm according to the data and apply that algorithm, and that algorithm works on its own. Then fourth step is to gain insights from the model's results. That means we will have to evaluate, or we will do the evaluation by checking the accuracy, by checking the precision, by checking the F1 score. So if we don't get our desired results, we go back to the step 2 again, and we hypertune the parameters. What is hypertuning the parameters? We change some parameters. That is the main work of data scientists and data analysts, that we change some parameters to get the correct result. And final step is data visualization. Actually, data analysis can be visualized or picturized by data visualization. We have so many different libraries in Python which we will be learning for visualization. For example, Seaborn, Matplotlib. We will work in this Seaborn and Matplotlib in module 2 itself. We will learn how to do the basic charts, and then we will go to the machine learning concepts in module 3. So this is a task for you, Praveen. I'll basically explain you what is this. This is a rating given by 5 different users. So there are 5 different users: Ram, Krish, James, Anu, Akira, and they have given ratings for 5 different movies. So you have to tell me that how machine will predict the rating for movie 4. Means you have to see the similarity between other users, between these users, and if there is a similarity, what rating Anu will give to movie 4 and what rating Akira will give to movie 1. Can you please predict? Can you see some similarity between Anu and some other user?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anu might give 2.
uh, from where you are, why you are saying so?
Because the first movie she has given 5, second movie 2, third movie
Okay.
3. So
Yes.
first movie everybody has given the same almost, I mean, Ram and Krish
Yes,
also given the
yes.
same, and James only has given less score. And the
Okay.
second movie, out of 3, only 2 people are given 2, and the rest of the only one guy has given 5.
Okay. If
Okay.
we see this example as the example of user-based recommendation, so in
Hmm.
user-based recommendation, it always see the similarity between users. Can you see some similarity between Anu and some other user? Please compare one person and see the similarity between Anu and some other user.
Yeah, Anu and Ram I think have a same
Yes, yes,
similarity.
yes. So for movie 1, Ram has given 5 stars. Anu has also given 5 star. For movie
Okay.
2, 2 star. Anu has given also 2 star. For movie 3, 3 star. Anu has given 3 star. So there is a
Okay.
very
Then
likely.
4 stars. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So machine will predict according to this data. If we provide this data, then it will see the similarity between two users, and it will directly give 4 stars to movie 4 because it is exactly similar to Ram. Now,
Mhm.
can you predict it for Akira? Some pattern, not exactly if not exactly similar, you can find some pattern between two users. So that's how machine works. Take your time and please
Okay, okay.
try this. So,
Okay, first,
Krishna, yes,
yeah, first movie, I think she might give a 4, because almost everybody has given 5, 5, 5, 3. I think
okay.
she will follow, I think, no, 5, because the majority of people has given 5.
Okay, but there is a pattern. if we talk about Ram, there is a pattern that with movie 2, for movie 2, Ram has given 2 star. For movie 3, Ram has given 3 stars. For movie 2, Ram has given 2 stars, but Akira has given 1 star. For movie
Mm-hmm.
3, Ram has given 3 stars, Akira has given 3 stars. There is a similarity. For movie 4, Ram has given 4 stars, Akira has given 4 stars. So there is a similarity again. But for movie 5, Ram has given 1 star and Akira has given 3 stars. So there is no similarity, and the pattern is somewhat okay. We can say that somewhat similar, but then we will compare it from Krish and Akira, because
Mm-hmm.
what machine will do, machine will compare like this. With each and every user, it will compare. Now, Krish has given 5 stars to all the 5 movies, right? There is no similarity between Krish and Akira,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then after Krish, the machine will understand the pattern for James. Like movie one, Akira has not given anything, so it will not check for movie one. For movie two, James has given 2 star, Akira has given 1 star. For movie three, James have given 4 star, Akira has given 3 star. For movie 4, James has given 5 star, Akira has given 4 star. For movie 5, James has given 4 star and Akira has given 3 star. So can you understand some pattern? Akira is giving one less star from James. So machine will find this pattern, similar pattern for all the movies, and understanding this pattern, what rating Akira will give to movie one, it will give 2 stars, because James has given 3 stars, and if Akira will give 2 star over here, then it will follow that same pattern that Akira is given one less star from James. Have you understood this? If not exactly similar, then it will find some pattern. Like Ram and Anu, you have predicted that for movie 4, they all are similar. It is giving the similar kind of rating. So for movie 4, Ram has given 4 stars. So Anu will also give 4 stars. So it will be exactly similar. For Akira, there is one pattern it is following, that Akira is giving one less star than James. So there is one pattern going on till movie 5. So it will follow the same thing, and it will give 2 stars because James has given 3 stars over there. So there is a similar pattern following this thing. Is this
Okay.
clear?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I would like to now talk about the different types of machine learning. Actually, there are 4 types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. We will first focus on supervised and unsupervised. So supervised is categorized into, again, classification, regression, recommenders, and unsupervised is categorized into clustering, dimensionality reduction, topic modeling, all these things. So we will first talk about the supervised learning. Whenever you have a labeled data set means the raw input as well as its results. In supervised learning, what happens is you train your model on the labeled data set. That means we have both the raw input data as well as its results. We have the features as well as the labels. That is a labeled example. Whenever we will do some examples, some coding on data, then you will understand what are labels, what are features. I'll tell you everything. But for now, please understand this: in labeled data set, there is a raw data also and the labels also. I'll give you one example. Like you are you are providing many images of apples to your machine, and you are providing the labels also, that these particular images is of apple, these particular images are of oranges. So this apple, orange, these are the labels associated with it. So you used labeled example to train your model. To train your model, we always use the training data. Once we have trained our model, we use that model to predict the label on the unlabeled example. And in the stamp detector, what we do is, unlabeled examples are the new emails that human haven't yet labeled. Okay. So in supervised learning, what happens is, it is a two-step process. First of all, first the learning happens. Learning means training. and that training happens with the training data, that the data we provide to the model learns from that. And how testing happens, we test the model using the unseen test data to access the model accuracy, right? So for accuracy formula is the number of correct classification upon the total number of test cases. So we are not going to apply this formula. This is for your understanding how it calculates. But we will directly use the metrics as accuracy. It will just give, whenever we'll do coding, right? I'll explain you how to calculate the accuracy, how to calculate the F1 score. I'll tell you all those things. So for now, please understand this basic flow chart or model, how it actually happens. So first, we provide the training data to the model with the training algorithm, of course, and that model learns from that training data. And at the time of testing, what we do is we have some test data, we show it to the model, we calculate the accuracy. That new case is goes to the model and it predicts what that unseen data is, what that unseen image is, of which classification, in which class it should go. So that is what called as supervised learning, right? So, supervised learning is categorized into two more forms. One is classification and one is regression. For now, I'll just give the introduction part of it, but I know whenever you will do coding related to this, whenever you will do some case studies related to classification, then only you will understand what is actually classification. For now, I'll give you one example. Like I have shown you one image of fruits. In that, I have shown you that we will provide some images of apples, some images of grapes, some images of oranges, and we will provide some labels also. With apple, I have provided that it is an apple. With orange, I have told that this is an orange. So labels also we are providing. But whenever any new image will come, so it will decide, the machine will decide in which class. So these are all classes: apple class, orange class, grapes class. So the machine will decide that that unseen data, the new image, in which class that new image will go, in which category that new image will go. So classification is identifying to which of a set of categories a new observation will belong, right? The second most important thing about classification is it normally works on discrete data, right? It normally works on the categorical data, or it will decide from that data in which class that unseen data will go. For example, you can predict whether an email is spam or not. We will do this case study. And one more example is whether to approve loan to a bank customer or not, whether it is he is a defaulter or not, whether to approve loan or not. So we will do these kinds of examples. We will do some examples on bank credit card fraud detection. We will do all these examples using classification only. So another thing is regression. Regression analysis helps us to understand the relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. Like you must have studied y equal to mx plus c. That is the expression to solve a straight line. That is the formula for calculating the relationship between the y and x. Y is the dependent variable because it always depends on what x is. So in simple linear regression, we always have one independent variable, that is mx plus c, that is one only, and one independent variable, that is x. In multiple linear regression, we will understand that how to work with multiple x, that is y equal to mx1 plus mx2. So how to understand the relationship between multiple independent variable and the dependent variable, we will see it whenever we'll do some case study related to regression. So some examples related to regression are stock market analysis. Stock market analysis is being done through regression only, and it is being solved by linear regression only. People uses ARIMA and most of the popular methods and models, but it can be solved using linear regression also. So these are the algorithms which are related to your supervised learning algorithm. For example, decision tree induction, random forest classification using association rules, Naive-Bayes classification, support vector machine, K nearest neighbor. So all these are the algorithms of supervised learning algorithm. So, what are the learning stages in supervised learning algorithm? First of all, we have to divide the labeled collection into training and test data set. So, the standard way is to divide it into like this, like 70% of the data we take for training data and 30% of the data we take for test data. We will use the training data and features to train machine learning algorithm and predict the labels in test data to evaluate the algorithm. This is the whole and sole procedure to solve any machine learning problem. So I would like to discuss the unsupervised machine learning now. In supervised machine learning, I have told you that we provide the raw data as well as the labels. But in unsupervised machine learning, you will not get the label data. You will only get the scattered data, not the scattered also, you will only get the raw data without any labels. You have to put it inside the cat into some categories understanding the similar features. So in unsupervised learning, the information used to train is neither classified nor labeled in a data set. It studies on how the system can infer a function to describe the hidden structure from the unlabeled data. And the main task of unsupervised learning is to find some patterns in the data. For example, this is the data we provide to the machine. This is only the raw input data. We have not provided any labels. We are not providing any, this is an apple, this is a pineapple. We are not providing that label. We are just providing the images. We apply some algorithm. It does some processing. It does some processing of understanding the similar features, and according to the similar features, it just makes some clusters. It has made one cluster of apples, one cluster of pineapple, and one cluster of carrots. So it has put inside into that, and it has categorized into different clusters. So like that, unsupervised learning happens and unsupervised learning works. So there are some algorithms which are available in unsupervised learning. They are principal component analysis algorithm, k-means algorithm, singular value decomposition algorithm. So this is all about the introduction of machine learning. Now I will quickly tell you about Python and why Python is in hype and why Python is being used so much. So Python is object-oriented high-level programming language, and it is also an interpreted language. Interpreted language means it can be executed directly, so it does not have any separate stages for compiling the code and then executing it. In other languages, what happens is we need to first compile it nicely, and then if while compiling some errors come. So in Python, you don't have to waste your time in compiling the code. You can directly execute it by converting your code into an intermediate code, and generally that is generally a byte code. And this definitely increases the speed of execution, and that byte code is platform independent, so which can be run on any platform, so it is portable also. Okay, any platform, meaning any operating system, you can run your Python code. So it was designed by Guido van Rossum, and this name Python came from his favorite television show, that is Monty Python's Flying Circus, and it was first released in 1990. So why Python is being used? Because of its simplicity, of course, and it is very easy to install and set up. Today, I'll show you how to install the setup for Python and how to configure its working environment. It is easy to learn. It is readable. It is simple. It has many multi-purpose. It is used for multi-purpose also. It is used for designing web programming. It is used for web programming. It is used for scripting. It is used for scientific computing. It is used in data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. It is used everywhere, right? It is used in YouTube's also nowadays. It is used in animations also. So one of the most important thing about Python is it is open source. so anyone can contribute to its development. And one thing we have discussed in the in starting while starting our session, that it has a shorter development time. The code which you are writing, suppose it is of 20 to 25 lines in Java or C++, because we have to write that particular structure also. To use one printf statement or printf function in C, we have to use its header files. We have to include its header file first, and then we have to include main function, and then we have to declare the variables, and then we have to define the data type, we have to initialize. So in Python nothing happens like that. If you want to print something, you just directly write print and print function, and inside the brackets you write anything inside the double quotation, and it will get printed, right? So another thing in Python is it is extensible. That means you can reuse or code using modules and packages. Okay. This thing I have already explained you, that Python is processed at runtime by the interpreter. So it is interpreted language, and there is no need to compile your program before executing it. The most important advantage is it is portable. What is the meaning of portable? If you write any code, Python code, in any of the operating systems, suppose you have written in Linux environment, so the same code will run on Windows and on Mac. So this thing does not happen in C and C++. Compatibility issues come, and some of the other issues come. If you have written something on Windows, definitely that the same code will not run on Mac or HPC cluster. You have to make some changes. In SPC clusters, of course, you have to make the changes for parallel programming. So in Python, what happens is the same code will work on any operating system. You can run your Python code in Symbian operating system, in Windows Mobile, in Android, in Apple iOS, anywhere you can. This is the biggest advantage of Python. Now I'll discuss some application areas of Python. Python is being used in web programming, scripting, scientific computing, artificial intelligence, data analysis, machine learning, and deep learning applications also. Now I would discuss something about the versions, and we are surely going to work on Python 3, of course, but there are three versions of Python. First is 1x, 2x, and 3x. But 2x is still being used. I'll tell you my personal experience about Python 2. Because in other batches, they have asked me this question, that if Python 3 version is there, why second version 2.7 is still being used? So where I was stuck and where I have used Python 2.7, I'll share that after this slide. So these are subdivided into minor versions, for example, 2.7 and 3.3. And now the recent version is 3.9.0. So code written for Python 3.x is guaranteed to work in all the future versions of 3, right? So both Python version 2 and 3 are used currently. And in Python version 2, 2.7 is the most and the very stable one. And in 2010, it was released. And after that, there was no release of Python 2. So when I was stuck in CDAC R&D, we were working on deep learning projects and deep learning libraries we had to use. So at that time, we used PyTorch as well as Caffe2. So some of the functions didn't work for me, and 15 days were gone in solving that problem. 15 days were gone in solving the errors actually. So it was not working on Python 3. Those functions were not working on Python 3. And then I realized and encountered that I have copy and pasted those errors. And then I realized that these functions will only, these packages, these functions inside these packages, this PyTorch, will only and only support Python 2 syntax. So Python 2.7 syntax is different from Python 3. Then I have switched to Python 2, and then I have started working on Python 2 to solve that problem, that particular problem. So I'll tell you how to work on Python 2. If you will stuck in between in Python 3, then you can use Python 2. And recently I was doing one certification course in Coursera, that is the certification in machine learning. In that module 1 only, I need to use GraphLab and SFrame module inside that GraphLab library. So then I encountered that I got to know that it also doesn't support Python 3. We have to use Python 2 for it. So at some place, Python 2 is used till now it is being used, but most of the work is being done by Python 3. And for this course also, we will work on Python 3. So Python 3.0 was released in 2008, and the current release in 3.9.0, and it was released on 5th October 2020. Recently, it has been released. So if I compare Python 2 with the other languages, then Python code is typically 3 to 5 times shorter than the equivalent Java code, and it is often 5 to 10 times shorter than the equivalent C++ code. That we will, whenever we will do the hands-on practice, you will come to know, and you will realize how Python is of so much advantage, and how Python is really helping us to optimize our coding this thing. So now I will tell you how to configure your working environment. Have you worked on Python before, Praveen?
No, no, Ankita.
All right. So now I will tell you how to configure your working environment. We will have to install Anaconda Navigator for it. So for Anaconda Navigator, I need to know the configuration of your laptop. Is it 64-bit? Is it Windows, or it is of Linux environment?